What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the top 10 alto sax players in jazz, round 2. We really want to thank all of our Patreon supporters who help make this channel possible by donating as little as $1 a month. There are perks for being a Patreon, so check out the link below if you'd like to support us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, as well as hit the notification bell so you'll be informed about all future videos. Also, we really want to hear from you, so feel free to drop a comment and let us know any future video ideas you have for us. A few months ago, we released our top 10 alto sax players in jazz video. It was really fun to put together, and I learned a lot in the process. I also really appreciated all the ideas that I got in the comments. The history of alto saxophone playing is so fascinating, so we decided to bring it back for a round 2. Coming in at number 10 for top 10 alto sax players round 2, we have Art Pepper. At the age of 17, Pepper began performing with saxophonist Benny Carter. Despite serving in World War II for 2 years, throughout the 1940s, Pepper toured extensively as a star soloist with the Stan Kenton Orchestra. Pepper's career was repeatedly interrupted by several prison stints stemming from his addiction to heroin. While in San Quentin prison, Pepper played in an ensemble with another inmate, saxophonist Frank Morgan. Despite these prison sentences, Pepper managed to have several productive comebacks. During the 70s and 80s, Pepper toured the world as a bandleader and recorded dozens of albums. Along with Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan, Pepper is associated with West Coast jazz, as contrasted with the East Coast hot jazz of Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Coleman Hawkins. Coming in at number 9 for top 10 alto sax players round 2, we have Willie Smith. Smith is mainly known for being a long-standing star alto player in the Jimmy Lunsford Orchestra. He became eager for more pay and less travel, so he served stints with the big bands of Harry James, Duke Ellington, and Billy May. He was also part of the Gene Krupa Trio. Although not widely known today, Smith was one of the triumvirate of great swing alto saxophonists, along with Johnny Hodges and Benny Carter, which was before Charlie Parker arrived on the jazz scene. Coming in at number 8 for top 10 alto saxophonists round 2, we have Frank Morgan. When Morgan was 7 years old, he heard Charlie Parker perform live in Detroit. After the show, Parker offered Morgan advice and met him at the music store the following day, getting him started on the clarinet. 8 years later, Morgan was offered Johnny Hodges' spot in the Duke Ellington Orchestra, but his parents wanted him at home, so he played locally with luminaries such as Billie Holiday and Josephine Baker. In 1952, Morgan earned a spot in Lionel Hampton's band, but subsequent opportunities were squandered after he got hooked on drugs. Still, he was able to record with greats including Kenny Clarke, Milt Jackson, and Bobby Timmons. The year Charlie Parker died, Morgan was hailed in the press as the new Charlie Parker, but Morgan was scared to death by this claim, and in his own words, he self-destructed. Morgan spent much of his adult life in prison due to charges involving heroin, check forgery, and theft. But in the last 2 decades of his life, he performed at clubs and jazz festivals, carrying the flame of true bebop. Coming in at number 7 for top 10 alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Ornette Coleman. While in high school, Coleman began performing R&B and bebop on tenor saxophone. After touring around the country performing with various bands, Ornette found like-minded musicians in California, such as Ed Blackwell, Charlie Hayden, and Billy Higgins. After a series of recordings, the jazz world was shaken up by Coleman's alien-sounding free jazz music. Some musicians called him a fraud, while others praised him, including Leonard Bernstein, Lionel Hampton, and the Modern Jazz Quartet. In 1959, Coleman released his most famous album to date, entitled The Shape of Jazz to Come. The next year he recorded a double quartet, which included 2 trumpet players, 2 bassists, and 2 drummers. Structure was abandoned while new textures were explored. Today, he is remembered as one of the most important and controversial innovators of avant-garde jazz. Coming in at number 6 for top 10 alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Ernie Henry. In the late 1940s, Henry played extensively with Tad Dameron, Fats Navarro, Max Roach, and Dizzy Gillespie, and then joined the band led by saxophonist Illinois Jacquet. After a few years in the shadows, Henry returned to play with Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus, Kenny Dorham, and Philly Joe Jones. He's one of the few alto saxophonists to have a true, unique voice inside the bebop tradition. Henry recorded 3 albums as a leader shortly before his death due to a heroin overdose at the age of 31. Coming in at number 5 for top 10 alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Phil Woods. As a teenager, Woods studied music with pianist Lenny Tristano, who influenced him greatly. In his 20s, he toured the world with Dizzy Gillespie, Quincy Jones, and Benny Goodman. The next decade, he moved to France and led an avant-garde jazz group. Returning to the States, Woods earned the Top Alto Sax Player Award almost 30 times in Downbeat Magazine's annual Readers' Poll. Perhaps his best-known recorded work as a sideman is his sax solo on Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are. He also played the solo on Steely Dan's Dr. Wu and Paul Simon's Have a Good Time. Woods co-founded the Delaware Water Gap Celebration of the Arts, organizing jazz performances and educational events. Coming in at number 4 for top 10 alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Lee Konitz. As a child, Konitz was inspired to start playing the clarinet after hearing Benny Goodman on the radio. In the 40s and 50s, when Charlie Parker exerted a massive influence on jazz, Konitz was one of the few alto saxophonists who was able to retain a very distinctive style. His association with cool jazz includes participation in Miles Davis's Birth of the Cool sessions and his work with pianist Lenny Tristano, Claude Thornhill, Gil Evans, Stan Kenton, and Jerry Mulligan. In 1949, he turned down an opportunity to work with Benny Goodman, a decision he later regretted. His playing became more avant-garde and chromatic, although he maintained structure by performing well-known standards. Many other saxophonists were strongly influenced by Konitz, including Paul Desmond and Art Pepper. Coming in at number 3 for top alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Rahsaan Roland Kirk. Kirk played the saxophones, flute, and many other odd instruments. He became blind at 2 years old, but could somehow see more music than the rest of us. He was known for his onstage antics in between virtuoso improvisations. He would offer comic banter, political ranting, and even playing multiple instruments simultaneously. He was very experimental and often rebuilt his instruments to suit his needs. Coming in at number 2 for top 10 alto saxophonists in jazz, round 2, we have Eric Dolphy. Dolphy's improvisational style was characterized by the use of wide intervals in addition to employing an array of extended techniques to emulate the sounds of human voices and animals. His work is often classified as free jazz, but his compositions and solos were loosely rooted in conventional tonal bebop harmony. In addition to dozens of recordings as a leader, Dolphy collaborated with a wide array of jazz legends, including Clifford Brown, John Coltrane, Booker Little, Herbie Hancock, and Charles Mingus. Before we get to number 1 on the list, I'd like to add in an honorable mention. He's a saxophonist that's very special to me because I've had the pleasure of playing with him and spending time with him on and off the bandstand. This saxophonist is Jerry Dodgion. He's known in New York as a jazz musician's musician. He had a long career as a sideman, playing in the bands of Gerald Wilson, Benny Carter, Benny Goodman, Oliver Nelson, Count Basie, and most prolifically with the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Orchestra. Dodgion's first release as a bandleader arrived in 2004, The Joy of Sax, featuring his arrangements for sax section and rhythm section. Not only is he a fantastic arranger and improviser, but he's one of the greatest lead alto saxophonists, and I was extremely lucky to get the chance to play alongside him in the sax section, and I'll never forget it. Coming in at number 1 for top 10 alto sax players in jazz, round 2, we have Paul Desmond. Desmond started playing the clarinet at age 12 and joined the United States Army Band on sax when he was drafted at age 18. He's best known for his work with the Dave Brubeck Quartet and for composing the group's biggest hit, Take 5. In addition to his work with Brubeck, he led several groups and collaborated with Jerry Mulligan, Chet Baker, and guitarist Jim Hall. Throughout his life, Desmond had many drug addictions, including cocaine. He was one of the most popular musicians to come out of the cool jazz scene, producing a light tone on the alto, trying to sound, he said, like a dry martini. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the list. I had a blast putting it together. There's so many greats in jazz on the alto saxophone, and it was really tough to pick just 10 more. I really want to know what you all think, so let me know in the comments below. As always, we really appreciate if you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It helps get our videos out to more people. And most importantly, we really want to thank all of our Patreon supporters who donate as little as $1 a month to help this channel. You can check out the link below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.